as many of these as we can. Hello, and welcome to TBR Tackle, Spooky Edition. This is the game where I focus on bringing down my game TBR in a relatively short period of time. We currently have 42 physical books on my TBR. That's a lot, you guys. And we are going to try and focus on the spooky books and see how much of a dent we can make on this number. Let's get into it. Okay, so I think the first thing we should be doing is figuring out what to prioritize, because some of these I'm actually planning on reading for the spooky readathon that I'm doing with the besties, and some of the rest just don't fit the spooky theme. So, I know I want to tackle Slewfoot, Nestlings, Home is Where the Bodies Are. It's also a pretty good idea to try and finally get around to Dr. Sleep. Middletide, I've got this The Long Shadow of October I've been holding on to. The Chalkman, probably even the Pallbearers Club, because I know there's supposed to be like a vampire-esque feel to it. And I could probably also do Don't Fear the Reaper. And maybe even Poster Girl, even though I think this is supposed to be more sci-fi fantasy, it does have a spooky vibe with the cover, so we can possibly do that one. And then this little corner here are some of the books I'm going to be reading for the spooky readathon that I'm doing with my besties over on Patreon for our Rep Me book club. So I've got like Eternally Yours, You're Supposed to Die Tonight, The Reformatory, Now Conjure, which I'm pretty excited about, If I Have to Be Haunted, The Eyes Are the Best Part, Bury Your Gaze, and What the Hex. So I will be tackling in the next video, so stay tuned. And the readathon goes on until the 27th, so there is still time to join. Although the buddy read for Bury Your Gaze, we will be reading on the 19th and 18th, which will have passed. I'll also have a TBR for this, which I haven't done yet, but will be filming soon. Maybe even today. Who knows? Now for this video, we have a lot of books to choose from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 books that I think fit very well with the spooky vibe. And we have 4 days to try and tackle as many of these as we can. Ooh. I didn't realize that was so little time. Let's see what we can do. Okay, for our first book, we're gonna go in strong with Home is Where the Bodies Are. Now, before we get started, I actually have a confession to make. I was gonna start this video this weekend, and I picked up Middletide already. And you know what? I'm just gonna let past me tell you about it, and you'll understand in a minute. Okay, hi, hello. We have finally officially started Middletide, and I'm not very far into it. And I don't care yet about anything. I'm not enjoying it. It's very boring at this point. So it started off strong. We had some people who were going fishing who come across a dead body that appears to be suicide, and some sort of cop or something a little bit later who is looking at everything and is like, questionable. I'm noticing a couple of things that might suggest foul play. Then I believe we have a time jump and we go back and we're focusing on this young couple right before they leave for college, and a promise that because they love each other, they will come back. And now we're kind of going back and forth between these things. And I don't care. I feel bad saying it, but like, I don't care about anything that is happening. I don't care about the characters. I don't care to discover what's going on. Like, the way that it is being presented to me is so dry. Like, even though, like I said, the initial thing, like the initial moment they find this woman and there's, one of them at least suspects foul play. That's a great idea. That's a great concept. But then we jumped into something else, and now I'm all like, do I want to sit through this to find out what's going on with her? No. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of DNFing it, but it seems too early to do that. I'm only a couple chapters into it. So it seems unfair to DNF it so soon, but we're leaning towards that. Yeah, I think it's official. We have successfully removed something from my TBR, even though I haven't finished it. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm sure people will like it. I just don't care. And I'm not in the mood to push through. I want to read something that I'm excited about. I'm not excited about this. This can go to somebody else in the future, but I'm not keeping it. Okay, yeah, so we do get to knock off one of the books already from 42 down to 41. A success is a success is a success, even if I didn't finish it. That's okay. Hopefully, the books that we end up reading starting now will all be wonderful and I will finish them completely.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
So I'm just gonna knock this off of the shelf and we can go ahead and get started with something that I think is going to be more enjoyable. Fingers crossed. Okay, so as promised, I started Home is Where the Bodies Are. And I am actually a good chunk into the book. I also just love the design of this book and how it fits with the actual story. Okay, so this is about 3 siblings who have pretty much separated and are brought back together when their mother passes. And during this time, they have to go through her stuff and figure out what to do with it after all of that. And they decide to look at one of the old family videos. And at the end of it is something that they weren't expecting, which is basically their father covered in blood next to a dead body. And now they have a ton of questions and no clue where to begin to figure out what happened, what they just saw, what's going on, and how things all relate. I wanted to give you an update before I finished it because admittedly, I got pretty hooked and pretty invested in what was going on, so I'm pretty far into it. But we've had some pretty interesting twists and turns so far, and I am really enjoying it. I don't necessarily think anything phenomenal is happening, but I do like the writing. I am very frustrated with the characters, but I think they're done well. I am interested to see where things go. I'm interested in some of the conversations that are happening, the question of morality, trying to do the right thing and navigate this weird circumstances. And we get several POVs throughout this, along with an additional timeline, which I find very interesting and I really enjoy. And so far, I'm having a good time. Okay, there are definitely things that I find annoying, which is normal for the trope. So, like, not a surprise there. But I ain't mad at it. Like, I'm really interested in seeing where things go, and I think that's going to happen pretty soon. So let me jump back into it and give you an update, especially because I realized if I want to read all of the spooky books in the next 4 days, I have to read a little bit more than 2 books a day. So after we finish this, we're going to jump directly into our next one, and hopefully we will end the day starting our 3rd one, which is, I think, is going to be our chunker, the biggest one that I'm a little bit nervous. I'm trying to be strategic about what order I read things in. So some of the ones that I'm really excited about, followed by ones that I'm kind of like meh about, followed by ones that I'm excited, like I want to give myself something to be excited for. I'm holding off on Slewfoot, which I think is going to be a 5-star prediction, until kind of a little bit later. But I don't want to hold off too long and not have enough time to read it. So we have to have this balancing act, but I'm excited, okay? We're making progress. We've already got something off of the TBR shelf, and we are close to getting the next one off. I mean, it might be false confidence since it's really early in the game, but we'll see. We will see. Wish me luck. Okay, we did it. We finished the first book, which means this number goes down. I am feeling good. I'm feeling good, feeling excited, and I enjoyed this. I really like this. This was good. I liked the direction that it went. I liked the twists and turns. I liked the general writing. I don't think it was amazing in any way, shape, or form. I do also see people who are really avid thriller, horror, mystery readers would probably feel like it's kind of a meh story. But I liked it. I had a good time, and I am glad I finally got around to reading it. So we are off to a good start. Off to a good start. I can put this back in its sleeve now, so let's do that. And now let's pick the next book. And I think our next read is going to be The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. As I mentioned, I want to kind of go back and forth between the type of books that I'm really excited about it and not super excited about it. I've had this on my shelf for a really long time. This is one of the books I bought a while ago. It does sound like it's going to be interesting, and I do find often that some of these books where I'm not as excited about it anymore end up blowing my expectations out the water. So that's why I still read them and I get excited about them, and I really struggle getting rid of books that I haven't read before. But that's a whole nother topic. Let's start this and I will tell you more about it once I'm further into it. Okay, hi, hello. I have started The Chalk Man, and this is not what I was expecting, okay? It is very engaging. We have dual timelines, and so we're getting bits and pieces of the story told in different events happening at different times. And I love that type of storytelling. But I will say, trigger warnings, just trigger warnings, because not only does it start off with a person taking the head of their latest victim, but then we just have other gruesome moments that happen throughout that I guess I just wasn't expecting. I guess most of the thriller, horror, suspense books that I read or mystery books are very tame in comparison, so I find myself cringing at the moments. But so far, all I am getting is that we have a group of kids who, when they were younger, I'm assuming serial killer, ended up killing somebody or somebodies. It's not 100% clear yet. And then many years later, when they are adults, there is more information that comes up. And we're trying to piece together what happened in the past with them, and then also with whatever was going on, along with whatever is happening now in the present, 30 years later or something, because they're in their 40s. So, yeah, I am very invested. The friggin' bully scene, though, was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. So, we'll see where things go, and I'll give you an update later. Oh my goodness. Okay, hi, hello. So I finished the reading sprints with the besties. Had such a great time. Really enjoyed doing that. I did end up reading The Chalk Man pretty much the whole time that we were there, and I wasn't able to finish it. So I figured that I would continue the last bit while I ended up washing my hair, getting ready for the night, all of that stuff. And I'm done. And I liked this. This was a wild ride with a lot of different elements and things and connections and whatever. And it was woven in such a good way and connected in such, it was just very satisfying. There was a lot going on, but it didn't feel like it. And I was invested the whole time, even though so much, I feel like recently I've been reading a bunch of books and I'm just oh, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And I'm just exasperated and annoyed, and I'm not enjoying it, and I'm so over it, and it's convoluted. This was good. This was good. Possibly 5 stars good. And it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, especially because of some of the topics and certain things that it does. And it's not easy of a read. But if you think you can handle that kind of stuff, I would suggest it. I would recommend. It's just there's so many different elements and so many things, and trying to uncover and unpiece and figure out what's going on and what's connected and how things are happening and what happened in the past and in the current time. And yeah, pleasantly surprised. So good way to round off day one. We have successfully completed another book. So this goes down, and I did want to start the third book, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that, honestly. I am pretty tired already, but I am thinking of finding out what we're going to start so that I can jump on it first thing in the morning. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to go with one of these for tomorrow. So, yeah, struggling because Dr. Sleep is one of the thickest books that I have on my physical TBR right now. So it seems like, oh, don't try and do that when you're trying to lower your TBR book number. But also, I do want to read it. It is on my TBR for a reason. So kind of considering that one. I am a little bit afraid, though, that I'm not going to be into it. This might end up being a DNF. So, that is also a good reason to try it. Because if I can get things done because they're DNFs, that also works. But I don't know. If I do like it, it's a big book to commit to. And then the other one, maybe, to try and tackle tomorrow is the Pallbearers Club. It would be amazing if I can do both of them. Anyway, I'm going to go to bed now. And hopefully wake up early enough that I can jump into one of these books first thing. And I will let you know more about them, whichever one I go with, once I start that. So, good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Good morning, and welcome to day 2 of TBR Tackle, Spooky Edition. Okay, so I have started the Pallbearers Club this morning while I was getting ready, and I was a little bit worried because I am listening to the audiobook for this, that the annotations wouldn't go very well. They do. We have 2 different audio narrators, and every time she has a little note, her audio narrator says it, and so it feels like an annotation. There's something just so nice. And then at the end, she kind of wraps up and talks about her perspective of whatever happened. I do think the way that Paul Tremblay did it was done very well for this method, because basically he just underlined any sections in the text that she comments on and writes the comment next to it, so that you would basically hear the comment immediately after whatever is said. So I actually looked at the book while I was listening to it to see if it would be confusing. And then most of her comments are at the end of the chapters. Now, I don't know if anything gets wild later on, but it doesn't seem like it. For the most part, she just pops in small thoughts here or there. And it fits really well. I'm really liking it. There's nothing crazy about it. It is really simple and almost boring and meandering in the way he's telling the story, but her thoughts make it so much more interesting, because he'll just be and she's showing me a picture and the color is green, and she goes, it's blue. And there'll just be this back and forth of his recollections, or she'll just be I don't know why you think it was like this, but I don't know, it feels real. Even though it's not, because it seems like he's going to start thinking that she's a vampire of some sort. We've already got hints at that. That is what I've gone into it with the understanding was going to be. And she's kind of all why are you thinking this? Or why are you making these things up? Or why do you remember it that way? And yeah, it's fun. It's cute. I'm interested in seeing where it goes. And again, it really is arguably boring. The actual stuff, it's just this day-to-day stuff with this kid and him making up things that he thinks means, is this greater, bigger thing. But it's all just really mundane stuff. And then she's coming in being all that's what you got from that? And yeah, I'm not that far into it though, so we'll see where it goes. But I am surprisingly having a good time. So that is definitely A good sign. Well, Houston, we have a problem. I am currently reading The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. And I'm pretty far into it. I'm enjoying this. This is not a I'm going to DNF this, but I am going to be marking this off without completing it. And you're probably like, "Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense." But hear me out. I will be completing this later. Because I realized as I'm listening to this and I am working on my TBR for the Rep Me Spooky / Fall readathon that I'm doing with the besties, and I'm struggling to find good disability rep, he has scoliosis among other things. This is the perfect book. So I need to put this on pause and save it for the readathon, which means that I think we're going to swap it with A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, because this was originally what I was going to read in an attempt for the disability rep, even though she has a fantasy paralysis, basically, which I think works and would, for in most cases, work. But I don't know if there's any more fitting ones inside the book. And so, yeah, in the spirit of the readathon, I think it makes more sense for me to do this one instead. Okay, so I have started A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, and I love the writing. I am very invested in what's going on. Basically, we have a story of a young girl with an abusive, horrible sorceress mother who, as I mentioned, will trap her in obedience where she is unable to do anything, along with pretty much just take away all of her freedoms and rights and things like that. And after her mother decides that they are going to stay with a wealthy family so that her mother can try and bag a rich man, she's kind of forced into another world, and she starts fearing for what her mother might do to this family. And so it's her dealing with her own trauma while also fearing for this new family and what might happen to them. And the commentary is strong. We do get dual perspectives. We hear different injustices. We experience the things that she's going through. We're learning backstories of stuff. And I'm very invested. I care about the characters. I feel like the things happening, I don't know. I'm very involved. I'm in it. I'm in it. Now, I'm a little bit bummed that I'm starting this late into the day because I was doing so well, and then because I switched from the Pallbearers Club and we couldn't get the point for that because we have to do this instead, feeling a little bit nervous, but it's okay. I am still going to get things off of the TBR, and that's okay. It's just going to take a little bit longer, and I still have a ton of other books to try and finish in the next 2.5 days. I don't know what I'm thinking. Oh my goodness. But at least I'm enjoying the books that I'm reading, so that's a good sign. We're making progress. It's going well. I'm feeling good. I will let you know what I think about this when I finish it. And so far, very high rating, but we'll see. I'm only 41% into it on the Libby app, so we'll see where things go and hopefully enjoy it, and it's a good time. Okay, hi, hello, exciting news. I have finished A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. We can mark another book off of our countdown, our number. And I really enjoyed this. I don't think there's anything phenomenal or amazing about this book. It's a basic story, but I really enjoy T. Kingfisher's writing. I'm hooked, I'm there, I'm involved, I'm interested. Yeah, I'm a big fan of their writing. And I realize, finishing it and trying to think back to, oh yeah, what's so enjoyable about it, and like some fun things, but like the story itself is relatively basic. Like there is some good commentary in it, but I still just had a good time. Like I can't say, oh, this, that, or the other was done amazingly, but I'm still like 4 stars. So I don't know. It's weird when I think about it. But I really like it. I'm happy. Now, that does mean it's time to start the next book, and I technically did. I was just in a position where it made sense for me to move on to the next book before I had time to give you guys an update. So I jumped into The Long Shadows of October. And I'm a good chunk into this, and I'm not enjoying it. I don't necessarily like the writing, the general feel. Like, it's obviously written by a man, and there's like crude language. It kind of reminds me of a old cheesy horror flick, and part of me was like, okay, I can get behind that. Like, don't get me wrong, I could totally get behind that. There's crude language, crude jokes, a lot of just and I mean, like, okay, that's fine, because a lot of these people are gonna die anyway. It's that kind of old horror story where like a bunch of people are in some sort of situation and stuff attacks them and they die, or at least that's like the vibe that I'm getting. But we just had like a moment that I was kind of all like, oh, that's kind of stupid. Like, it's anticlimactic. It's not like, I don't know. I'm not enjoying it. And I was kind of all like, oh, well, I could push through because I imagine like some things could be fun. But like, I'm just sitting here just like, oh, roll my eyes, or oh, cringe, or oh, like, that's not scary, or that's lame, or whatever. And now I'm like, oh, why am I reading this still? Like, obviously it's not for me. Yeah, so another DNF. We're going to move this number down again, and then I will mark this prompt as complete. Yeah, a book no one is talking about. I get it. I get it, because it's so-so. It's whatever. And it's funny because it's got that like traditional like slasher, and part of me is interested in going into the slasher genre, but I feel like I want slashers written by women. I feel like slashers by men are all going to feel very similar, and this just had a vibe that I was all like, I don't know, but I haven't finished it. And I'm gonna be honest, I was struggling to pay attention. So I was missing stuff, and I just didn't care to go back and figure out what I was missing. So, hey, maybe it's better than I'm recalling, but I don't care to find out. So we're just gonna move on to greener pastures, hopefully. Now, for our next book, I feel like this is a little bit risky. I'm not super excited about this, and that is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. Now, I actually liked the first book in this trilogy. I struggled a little bit at the beginning, and I didn't love it, but I liked where it went, and I got really into it, especially towards the end. It was kind of more what I was expecting. But I'm not excited to go back into that world, even though I was at the end of that book. Like, this was actually a really good book. I'm glad I finished it. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'm nervous how I'm gonna feel. I don't 100%. Like, I remember a lot of the like batshit craziness that started happening towards the end. No spoilers, obviously. But I like don't remember the final moments. Seeing this, it kind of tells me what I think happened, but I'm all like fuzzy. I imagine picking this up, though it doesn't matter because it's like years after the events of the first one. So yeah. And I remember, I almost want to say like the best part, like I remember where the last book ramps up. Like, it ramps up and things go like wild. And I remember that fairly vividly. It was, yeah. So maybe this will be a good book to pick up, but also I'm afraid I'm going to DNF it because I'm like, I don't know. This might be a soft DNF. I want to give it a shot though, but I just might not be in the mood. So hopefully I'm wrong and I get into it. but I guess we're about to find out. I will let you know. And I won't tell you anything specific. I guess I could tell you now what the first book is about. The first book is about a young girl in a small town who is absolutely obsessed with serial killers and final girls specifically. Like, she's got all of the knowledge, all of the information. She's, kind of a loner. She recites all of these things. She does just writing on it, all of that stuff. And a new girl, I believe, comes to the school, and she becomes obsessed with this girl, thinking that she's going to be a final girl and that something is going to go down. And it's kind of like a mental meandering, like, whatever going on with her and this whole scenario, and like what that leads to and what starts happening, and her kind of like, yeah. And I had fun with the first one. I'm very interested in seeing where the second one goes. I remember the first one having a lot of internal dialogue, so I imagine we're going to get that here as well. And this one is kind of chunky, which makes me a little bit nervous. And it's only the second book in a trilogy. The first one, I feel like, ended satisfyingly. I don't think you need to continue it. My Heart is a Chainsaw is the first one. I am a little bit tired, so I don't know how far we're going to be able to get into this. I just dropped it on my toes. Fortunately, the light stand was there, but it still squished my toes a little bit. I don't know how far we're going to get into this, but I guess we'll find out, and I'll let you know how I feel after I get some amount into it. I'm nervous. Good morning, and welcome to day 3 of TBR Tackle. I have an update on Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. This one's actually weird because I'm not liking it. Like, I like the writing. I think some of the things that are happening are interesting, but I'm not enjoying the experience because there are some things that I don't necessarily care about. Like, I find fairly interesting, but it doesn't keep me engaged with the story. And I just want to be engaged with the story. And I had this problem with the first book, but I ended up really liking where it went and liking the story. But I don't want to do that 2 more times. Like, I'm not, like, it's a slog to get through in some ways. I know it's some people's cup of tea. I totally get that. And I like the writing, and there's things that I like about this. So I see why people can like it. Even I like it. And I think if I finish it, I will like it. But I don't care enough to get to that point. Like, I'm just at this point where I'm like, oh, okay, like, that's kind of interesting. I wonder where that goes. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting, but like, I don't know if that's necessary right now. Like, I don't know. I feel bad because it's not gripping me the way that I want it to, and I'm gonna DNF the series. Like, I'm just gonna keep the first one, and I think give up on the rest of it. Or maybe I'll just give all of them away. But I liked the first one in the end. I don't know. I don't have the third book in this series. I don't think I ended up getting it because I kind of wanted to see. I was just hesitant. I was hesitant from the beginning. And so it's not a surprise that I'm DNFing this, but I want to make it clear, unlike some of the other DNFs that I've done, it's not because I don't like it. And that's a weird thing to say when I'm all like, I have no intentions of continuing it. It's just, I don't love the way that it's put together, even though I like some of the things that it does. And I don't want to go through that again. Like, I just don't. So we have made progress once again without actually finishing a book. This TBR tackle is not going the way that I was hoping or expecting it to. I did decide that I don't want to read this one. And since this is a prompt pick and not a sequel, I can swap it out for something else. So I decided this is just a book with 2 words in the title. Here's the original prompt. And so I decided that maybe I can go with Slade House instead. I've heard good things about this. And I am trying to get better at swapping out my prompts, especially for this whole TBR tackle thing, because a lot of the books that end up sitting on my shelf for an extended period of time are there simply because I'm not super excited to read them anymore. So if I just swap them out for different prompts, that's like a great way to make progress. But yeah, so we have those 3 books. Then I don't know if I should do this intentionally because part of me is all like, I might DNF this as well. But also part of me is like, if I don't, it's a big book to commit to. And I don't know if I want to do that right now, but we do have 2 days left. Let me get back to you. Let me think for a minute to figure out what I'm going to read next, and then I'll return. Okay, so I have started Dr. Sleep by Stephen King, and I was telling the besties right when I started it that I'm like really, really hooked and really invested, and I was saying how I was a little bit sad because that means I'm going to have to get through this whole book. And then kind of immediately after the opening scene, things shift quite a bit into a completely different territory, and now I'm feeling very unsure. So there is a good chance that I might DNF this. Apparently, I'm in my DNF era this month, so we will see. I'm not ready yet to give up on it though, because I am still interested. And depending on where it goes, I might be on board with all of the things that are happening. But if we kind of sit in this for too long, I think it's not going to be worth it. I'm ruthless, you guys. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I usually will just like sit through things even if I'm kind of like meh about it. But yeah, I've been really ruthless this game. I don't know what is happening, but yeah, I'm not putting up with no shit. But I will say I am actually not ready to give up on this one yet. So I'm going to get a little bit further and I'll let you know what I think, because I don't necessarily think it's bad at all. I'm just not enjoying the focus. It wasn't what I was expecting. And although it does have some pretty cool things in it, yeah, I don't know if it's going to grip me the same way that I want it to. And I liked the first book in the series. So yeah, I want to give it a little bit more of a shot. And I was really gripped by like the intro, because I was just all like, oh, I want to see what happens and where things go and what's going on. And we've basically done like a big time jump, and immediately I'm just all like, okay, like I get what you're trying to do, and this could be a very interesting setup, but how, like, this is a big book. How long are we going to sit there? Like, how long is it going to be before things move along in a way that I'm interested again? And it might not be that long, hopefully, but also it might. So I'm going to continue that while I actually work on 9 to 5 task stuff. Job stuff. I have some tasking things that I need to do and some setup work that I should be able to listen to the audiobook while I'm doing, but I won't be giving you a ton of updates, I don't think, because I'll be pretty heads down, but we'll see. I might pop in anyway if I decide to DNF that. Otherwise, I'll try and get a good chunk into it before I give you my updates. So I guess wish me luck. Hopefully I like it. Like, I do want to get through it, but also I just want to have a solid feeling, whether it's to DNF it or not. I just want to have that in our next clip. So let's find out. Woo! Surprise, surprise. After my last update on this book, it actually went back to the way I felt at the very beginning, where I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. And so I have made a decent amount of progress. And now I'm bored. And I don't know. This is going to end up being a DNF. And I'm not sure if it's a permanent DNF or if it's just a DNF for now, but we will make progress on our TBR tackle. And I will put this with the rest of my DNFs, assuming that I'm not going to pick it back up. I'm not disliking it at this point. It's just, yeah, there's not a interesting enough no, okay, let me rephrase that, because there are interesting things that are going on, but there's not one thing tying everything together yet, and there's a lot left to go, and I'm not excited or interested enough. I don't love the writing enough to deal with this kind of meandering style, where, again, interesting things have happened and I got really excited at a couple of points. We had somebody who was introduced and then another character that I was like, oh, we're going to have some connections there. And I imagine if I continue, I will probably enjoy it, but I don't care. I don't care. The land of DNFs, which is great. I'm actually not mad at it because I'm getting things off of my overall TBR along with my immediate TBR. The tackle is working. And that does mean the only books left are the ones that I am the most excited about, at least for the spooky TBR tackle. I mean, technically I have a bunch of other books left, but we're making good progress. I'm feeling good about this. So yeah, let me start. I think I'm gonna go with Nestlings next because I'm just kind of in the mood for that, and I'll give you an update. I'm worried now though, because I'm in my DNF era. Am I gonna DNF one of these books I'm super excited about? Oh my God, wish me luck. Please, TBR gods, let me enjoy these last 3 books for this video and all of the books for the next one, because I want to consume books that I really enjoy so I can tell you guys about them. I loved Mary, the last book from Nat Cassidy, and I did look at the little introduction that he mentions with some of the information about like trigger warnings and stuff. And he mentions that there is a character who's a real racist and sexist piece of crap. And I really appreciate that right out at the beginning, so we know where Nat Cassidy stands. So a little nervous, but also really excited for this. And I really do hope that I end up loving it because I need the win. I need the win. Okay. So I started Nestlings, and this is about a family who wins a kind of like apartment lottery and moves into this ideal place for their new family that seems too good to be true. And obviously, things get a little weird. And I'm invested. I'm hooked. I'm super into it. I am almost halfway through at this point. It is late. I am tired. I do plan on reading some more, but I don't know if I'll be able to finish it tonight or not. But I am invested enough that I might. Like, I might, because I can't imagine putting this down. I think it's gonna get wild. Nothing super crazy has happened yet. And I am a little bit nervous on where it's going to go because I have some thoughts that I think might happen. But yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. Good morning. Hi. Hello. Okay, so I have updates on Nestlings. I started this yesterday. I am still reading it. I'm still in the thick of it, but I have some thoughts, some little updates, some little things that I want to mention at this point. I think I'm like 75% into it, so I'm going to finish it this morning before work and hopefully be able to start our next one before work as well. But I also have some video editing to do, so that might not happen. We will see. Nestlings, Nat Cassidy. So I am thoroughly enjoying this. I'm thoroughly invested. I really like his writing style. I feel like it is very gripping, even though I don't think that much is really going on. There were hints at things that I thought would be more of a big deal or happen more frequently that haven't. There is still a good chunk left, so I could be wrong about some of it, but I feel like it's a lot more tame than I was expecting. I think so far, given that I haven't completed this and I could be totally wrong, I feel like this is probably a good book to start with Nat Cassidy before Mary, even though I think I'm preferring Mary still. but there are things that I really like about this, and it might get wild. It might get wild. So it's too early for me to really say, because we've had some interesting shifts. This is more about relationships and family and insecurity and even like gaslighting and self-doubt and all of this kind of stuff, because we have this couple who are not well off. They're in a crappy situation, and after having a baby, they end up winning a apartment lottery, and they are able to get this amazing apartment in this historic, famous, really nice apartment building in, I believe, New York. And for a really, really good price. And so they end up taking this opportunity despite the fact that it's on like the 19th floor and the wife is in a wheelchair because she had complications during her birth. And so like she's just hasn't been the luckiest person in recent times. And so they're looking forward to this, but a little bit hesitant about the circumstances because of her situation. And they move in, and things seem maybe like a little bit too good to be true, and some things seem a little bit off. And obviously tension ends up rising and different little things start happening, and we kind of go down a couple of these different rabbit holes. And the husband specifically gets really obsessed with the history of the building. And it's been really fun seeing where everything goes and seeing how things are connected and seeing things that are happening. And I could say, like, arguably there are some scary moments. Like, I feel like if you scare easily, you will probably be like, oh yeah, it's scary. I'm not feeling that. I feel like I had a lot more tension in Mary than in this one, but I'm invested. I'm interested. I'm hooked. And there have been some moments, but not enough. Like, I feel like I want more. That being said, I have like 25% remaining. So let's see where it goes. It might get wild. It might get crazy. It might do all of the things that I'm hoping for, because I feel like that's kind of how Mary was as well. Like, it was the last part of it that really did a lot. But there were a lot of moments beforehand that also had high tension, had high anxiety, had these like big moments that this one doesn't have as much of. But I don't know. I am still really enjoying it, and I'm feeling like Nat Cassidy is going to be a favorite horror author for me. And I know he's got, I think 2 books? 2 books that are going to be coming out in the future. And I'm like, I should pre-order them because I'm a fan. But let's see. Maybe I'm going to hate this. I feel like I'm speaking way too soon, but yeah, I'm so glad. Several of the besties are saying that they think I'm going to love this book and Slewfoot, so the besties know me. But again, let's actually see what I feel when we get to the end. I'm totally giving my thoughts too soon. I could be so wrong. I hope I'm not, but I could be. Okay, so I did it. I finished Nestlings by Cat Nassity. Sorry, by Nat Cassidy. I am so sorry, Nat Cassidy. I am a big fan of his work, and this was no exception. I did really enjoy it. I wouldn't say that this is a favorite, though, because I felt like the story was relatively basic, and there weren't as many moments that had the same kind of uncomfortableness and tension and, kind of fear factor for me in this one as Mary did. And it's been a while since I've read Mary, and I feel bad comparing the two because they're 2 different stories completely. And this does stand on its own merit, but I will say for sure that I do like the other book more, even though I had a really good time with this. I appreciate it. I don't love everything that it did. It had a setup or a certain thing that I really liked, and then it kind of switched, and I felt a little bit sad because doing that made it feel like kind of the same old thing that I have seen before. But in terms of the actual horror itself, I liked the way that that was handled and what that was. I guess I just wanted a little bit more. Like, I wanted a little bit more of everything leading up to it. I wanted more. And that is my only disappointment. But regardless, I really liked the writing. I was really engaged. I think it took some interesting twists and turns. And overall, I had a good time, but it's not a favorite. Anyway, that does mean that we have made progress on our TBR tackle, so that is good. And we get to start our next book, which is going to be Slewfoot by Brahm. And I have this as a 5-star prediction for me. I'm super excited. I wanted to save the best for last. It is our last day doing this. I think this is the last book I'm going to try to tackle for this video because I need to prep for the Besties Spooky Readathon, which is starting tomorrow. So after I finish this, I'm going to kind of be heads down on video prep and book prep and all of that kind of stuff. So this is the last one. I'm super excited about it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to love this. Now I'm getting a little bit nervous because watch it be like relatively basic. Like, I don't think it's going to be amazing. Like, there's not going to be anything amazing about it, but I think it's going to be a good time. I don't want to hype myself up too much and then be disappointed. So like, I need to bring myself down a little bit. Just be like, hey, it's just a book. It's just a book. It's going to be okay. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm very excited about that. I will say that speaking of the spooky TBR readathon, I actually think we can make some more damage to our TBR tackle right now because I feel pretty confidently that we are actually going to read a good chunk of the books off of my physical TBR. These ones I'm going to be focusing on first during the readathon. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these off. And if I'm wrong, I'll let you know in our next TBR tackle, okay? But I'm pretty confident that this is gonna happen, and so let's just do it. So I'm saving Eternally Yours. If you want to hear my thoughts on these, stay tuned for the next video, our spooky readathon vlog, because I will be talking about these. But Eternally Yours, we will be finishing the Pallbearers Club, which we're actually not going to mark off because I added a book for this and we've already completed that one. And so I don't want to mark off the same book twice, basically. So What the Hex by Alexis Daria, A Reformatory, You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, The Eyes Are the Best Part, Bury Your Gaze, which is going to be our buddy read. Super excited about that. If I Have to Be Haunted, and lastly, Now Conjurers. So that does a ton of damage, and then hopefully once we finish Slewfoot, we can mark off one last one off of the list. So I know it's a little bit of a cheat, but regardless, these 2 weeks here, I'm doing a lot of damage to my physical TBR. So now I just have a couple of books here and some books down here left to go. That's whatever we get for our November and December TBR game picks. So we'll try and tackle these in our next TBR tackle. I hope you guys are enjoying this, by the way. If you are, let me know. Include some like heart emojis in the comment section down below if you're enjoying TBR tackle and want more of them. Heart and a book stack. So like a heart of any color in a book stack, and I'll know that you want more of these. Thanks, guys. You're awesome. But let's start Slewfoot. Okay, so I officially started Slewfoot, and I didn't get very far. And I'm already so mad. And this is all intentional, right? Like, it's to be expected. Basically, we have a young woman who is just really unlucky in certain things and is in this little village. And her and her husband are struggling and just... I can't even. But I just got to a scene where one of the villagers has done something wrong and the other villagers are like, oh yes, he's, being punished for this thing. and we're doing our due diligence. Yeah, I'm mad. And I'm pretty sure I haven't even gotten to like the big kickoff, the big thing that's supposed to start everything, which I have some theories, some ideas, but I don't, like, I have no clue. I have no clue. But because of the characters that we've gotten so far, I'm thinking like, okay, it's gotta go in a certain direction if we're going to have our, beast creature thing be a thing. I don't know. We're gonna find out. I think, yeah. Oh my God. I hate people. This is a book that just reminds me that I hate people. And obviously, this is not true for everyone. This is an extreme circumstance. These Puritans are just awful. I am so grateful that we are not in that time period anymore. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to continue and I'm going to let you know my thoughts after that. But yeah, I'm so annoyed. Okay. Okay. Let me actually make some progress and then give you my thoughts when I'm like halfway through or something. Cause I'm the first couple of chapters, man. I'm not even into the thick of it. But it's hitting me strong with its themes. Um, so yeah, I'll be back. Okay, so I am finally able to make a little bit more progress on Slewfoot, busy work day. Um, and I'm like 30% into it at this point, still not that far, but I'm not sure. Like, I am still liking it. I don't want to come off and make it seem like I'm gonna DNF it. At this point, that is not where I'm at. But it's definitely not gone in the directions that I imagined it to go. And I don't know yet how I feel about that. Like, it could really go anyway. But I definitely imagine something different than where we are at this point. I'm interested to see what direction it goes. And I will say that unfortunately, at the moment, it is not feeling like a 5-star. It could easily be a high 4, depending on how things happen. Maybe a 5 if like things really take a turn now. That is still possible. But it really depends on pretty much like the next 20%. Okay, so I've made a decent amount of progress on Slewfoot, and this is an interesting experience so far because I was feeling a little bit disappointed but still interested in it. And then, shortly after that last update, it kind of shifted into a direction that I was pretty on board with. And I was like, okay, all right. Like, okay, maybe this really is right up my alley. And then it shifted away from that. And now it's in a completely different area. And I'm all like, I don't know. I kind of wish this stuff happened sooner. Like, I kind of wish things were set up in a different way. There's still a good chance that I'm gonna like it because I feel like it's gonna do a thing that I'm gonna appreciate. But if it doesn't, I'm gonna be heartbroken. And since I feel like this book is taking me on an emotional roller coaster, I'm not feeling super confident that it's gonna do the thing that I feel like I need it to do for me to be happy and enjoy this book. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like almost 80% into it. This one has been a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. That's for sure. Like, this has been a struggle. Oh, man. Okay. Wish me luck. I'm so nervous. You guys. Okay. Hi. Hello. It's actually pretty late. I'm tired. But I did manage to finish Slewfoot by Brahm, and I enjoyed it, but I also was a little bit disappointed, if I'm being honest with you. This is probably more like a solid 4 instead of being like a high 4 or a 5-star, which is what I was expecting it to be. I wanted it to do more or go off in a different direction, and although I am like kind of down with what it did, like, I don't know, I guess I was just expecting something else, and maybe that's just on me. But yeah, I'm a little sad because I didn't love it, but it's still good. Obviously 4 is a good rating, but I expected it to be 5 stars, and it's definitely not that. That being said, since I have completed this, we can make progress on our TBR tackle, and we've made a lot of success, honestly. I read 5 books, and then I started and DNF'd 4 books, and I wasn't able to make it to only 1. So this is going to go back on the physical TBR, and we're pretty good. And then, of course, I have pre-removed the books that I'm going to be reading for our next video, and fingers crossed none of them get added back to the TBR for our next TBR tackle. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like I said, include a book stack and heart emoji to let me know that you want more videos like this. Big shout out to all of my super amazing patrons, and I will catch you in the next video. Until then, bye!